Gearbox has spit in my mouth, and I am not a huge fan of the taste. The Horrors of Kairos event for Borderlands 4, the Halloween event, has released as of yesterday, and I'm gonna be honest, I did go into it with some pretty low expectations. Which wasn't for no reason. It's not because I just want to hate this game and I hate Borderlands and I want views. No, those low expectations were pretty much set by Gearbox themselves when they released what the event was going to be ahead of time. And now for context, let's actually look at what they said it was going to be. Horrors of Kairos event, starting October 23rd, ending November 6th, you get one head usable by all Vault Hunters, you get one weapon skin for all weapons. Both of those came through a shift code, a seasonal weather variant, a single legendary grenade, and a legendary weapon. With both those legendaries saying that they have a chance to drop via World Boss. Along with that, I'll also just note that the weapon itself has its weapon skin grayed out, or yellowed out here, saying that it is too spooky to show off right now. So I was already disappointed, because let me just very quickly refresh your memory on what our Halloween event that came out a month after BL3's launch was. We got a new enemy variant in the Ghost, being the Badass Ghost, the Normal Ghost, and the Loot Ghost, all of which would spawn within haunted enemies. We had a new little mini quest activity thing to actually access the new area that we got, the entire new linear mobbing section that we had, which led up to a very cool final boss of that area that we could replayably farm, where he could drop one of 3 unique legendaries for that event. Along with that, we also got the entirely new terror system, which not only was a debuff that enemies could apply to you, but it was a debuff that you could harness through anointments to make entire new builds around, and is still a system that is used in a lot of builds today. We also got a whole list of new challenges that we could complete, and was how we actually interacted with unlocking some of the side stuff for the event, like our weapon skins and such. And we got an absolutely banging soundtrack. The Bloody Harvest soundtrack to this day is still some of my favorite video game music in general. Which, side note with that, if you want to figure out why BL4 sounds so goddamn quiet, especially for an open world game where you have a lot of traveling, compare the length of the BL4 soundtrack to that of the base game BL3. It's staggering. BL4 was already a pretty big downgrade just going off of this. We had our cosmetics unlocked through a shift code. We only had 2 legendaries, but that's not the end of the world. We have a weather variant. I wasn't even entirely sure what that meant. And what I assumed is that we were getting a new boss because the legendaries both say chance to drop via world boss. I foolishly assumed that this meant that there was going to be a specific world boss tied to this event, probably a unique boss, but no, that's not what we got at all. No, the way that this event actually works is that these legendaries have a chance to drop from those rifts that you find. Those big bubble zones that spawn a random boss within them. You find a bubble. The bubble has this seasonal weather event where the sky turns red and starts raining blood only within this specific section when there's a bubble. At least to my knowledge, that's the only time that I've seen this weather. You kill the boss inside, you open your inventory, go to your reward center, and you have a chance to either get a blue, purple, or legendary gun, with a chance for that legendary to be either the Murmur or the Scully. This is a miserable experience. There is no two ways about it. I'm lucky enough to have an audience that hangs out in my live streams with me and was there to keep me company for the 5 hours that it took me to get both of these drops. Not everyone has that luxury. Maybe some are lucky enough to have actual friends to do this event with, but either way, this isn't fun. You have 2 ways of engaging with this event. Either one, you just drive around the map looking for these bubbles to spawn, which credit were due, with this patch they did add a marker for these events on the map and I believe also on the compass, which is an incredibly nice change, but it does not take away from the fact that this is an absolutely mind-numbing task. Driving around a big, pretty empty open world just looking for big-ass bubbles to spawn, it takes some time. And I actually very quickly gave up on this strategy and fell back on one that was a little bit more consistent. If you head to Punitive Manufactorium, which is just a location on the map, clear out all the mobs in that area, and then you just wait for like a minute to 2 minutes. Best strategy I found for this was heading up into the upper section, where the only way I could figure out how to actually get up here was by doing this really annoying car jump every time. But climb to the top and just kind of sit on these boxes where you can spin around and wait for this to show up. I think you have to not be looking in the direction of it, so you have to have your back to it, wait a minute or 2, and then spin around to check if it's there yet. And what this led to was a huge majority of my time in this event and during my stream was actually spent playing shitty Flash games, making dog shit tier lists about nothing, and showing off my Minecraft worlds, which, by the way, if you want some sick-ass Minecraft world tours, check out that stream. But in-game, what I was doing was waiting. I was standing on these boxes and waiting and spinning around periodically, and if there was a bubble, I would go kill the boss, make my roll of the dice on whether or not I actually got anything, and in that time, I got 3 murmurs, and on literally what I called out as going to be my last run because I realized it had been 5 hours, is when I finally got the Stully. Because trust me, I was not farming this for 5 hours by choice. Now let's talk about the gear itself, because this is literally what half of the event is, the other half of course being a shift code. So are they actually worthwhile? Well, the Murmur special effect is pretty much just that it is a first impression, but on the back half instead of the front half, guaranteeing critical hits on anything below 35% HP. I've really only used this as a gun. I haven't tried it out as a Tediore chucker. I assume this means that it can actually crit on its chucks as well, and that is likely where most of the power comes from, but as a gun, it's alright. It's a pretty solid AR, but really nothing too special. It's kind of lame. And if you remember earlier, I called out that they hid its weapon skin intentionally in the actual teaser for this event. It's the GMR skin. It's the exact same skin that's used on both the GMR and the Goremaster. It's not anything new. No idea why they felt the need to hide it. The Stully, on the other hand, the grenade that took me 5 hours to get, I think is bugged. It homes in on enemies and fires projectiles at them, but those projectiles are currently doing like 170 damage. Just that's it. 170. I might be missing something with this grenade. Either I'm entirely wrong about its effectiveness, or this is going to get patched eventually, but as of right now, I just don't even think it's worth getting. So now let's talk about Horrors of Kairos and kind of just what it means for the game generally. Before I get into here, I want to say I do like Borderlands 4. I think a lot of people, at least in my last video talking about it, got the impression that I'm just here to be a hater. That's not the case. I love this game. I keep booting it up. I keep having fun with it, but even as someone who loves this game, it's hard to say that I am not loading it up less and less. And Horrors of Kairos really shows that Gearbox is going to make it more and more difficult to continue loving this game. I said it earlier, but this event is literally 50% a shift code, and the other 50% is hunting down bubbles, which doesn't even feed into any actual part of the current endgame that we have. The endgame of BL4 is farming bosses, which is why I thought it was a pretty safe assumption that we were going to get a new boss. But no, instead they added this new activity of driving around the map and hunting down bubbles. The only endgame system that I can think that this feeds into is if you're just going around the map anyways collecting a bunch of shit, or maybe if you're just running a bunch of bounties. But if you're already max level and if you've already collected everything like I have, you have to go out of your way to do this. And either way that you go about interacting with it, it's not an enjoyable activity to do. Borderlands 4 has a huge content problem. I'm gonna compare it to BL3 again here. BL4 launched with an endgame of farming. You just kill bosses over and over again to get the gear that you want, most often very specific gear rolls that you want. Each week, maybe you run a specific boss on that weekly reset, you go Google where Maurice's market is, and for the freaks, maybe you go run a weekly wildcard mission that still doesn't have a dialogue skip. Borderlands 3 on launch had 3 circles of slaughter, each of which was a unique mobbing arena, with each of them having a unique boss at the end, and 6 trials or proving grounds, which were linear mobbing sections, each of which had a boss at the end, and rewarded you some loot. Along with that, they were also timed activities, so you could also try to lower your time as much as possible, which to this day there is still competition in. While on launch, these activities were a little bit lackluster, they were at least something to do. They were there, and they were there on top of the usual endgame of grinding for gear. A month after launch, we then got the Halloween event, the Bloody Harvest event, which I've already gone over all the different things that added. It was a huge add-on to the endgame of BL3 that was already pretty good. A month after that, in November, we got the first takedown with the Molly-1 takedown, which was a linear raid style of content, effectively being a takedown but much longer and a lot harder, along with offering way better loot and having unique drops tied to it. Not even a month after that, in December, we got the first story DLC, the Handsome Jackpot, and in that same time, you want to know what we're getting for Borderlands 4? We already got the Horrors of Kairos, which was a nothing of an event. We're getting Bounty Pack 1, which is very likely similar to a Headhunter Pack, a mini little DLC alongside a vault card. And in December, our first raid boss, Bloom Reaper the Invincible, which by the sounds of it is just a boss, legendaries, and an arena. I've seen some people theorize that maybe this is going to have a mobbing section leading up to it, but right now I don't think there's actually anything that points to that being the case. If I am wrong on that and I've missed something, please let me know, but just going off of what they've released within this roadmap, it doesn't seem like that's going to be what's happening. Gearbox has always drip-fed content to the player base. It's their entire system of releasing shit at this point. It's happened from BO1 all the way to BO4. The issue we're in right now with BO4 is that BO4 has no content. It has nothing to hold us over. It has nothing to keep people invested longer than it takes to complete the content. The only real reason that you'd have to continue playing after maxing a single character is to do it again. But right now, the systems in place for actually getting another character to 50 is agonizing. And going from the release cycle of BL3, where it literally felt like we had something new happening every week between all the different patches that were very, very large, and actual new content pretty much being thrown at us monthly, along with the weekly events that would periodically show up, many of which that were actually better than Horrors of Kairos is. My personal favorite being the Loot the Universe event. There was so much more that was going on to keep a player invested, along with just the base game itself having options. Options in how you played either alone or with people, options in how you interacted with the endgame. It just had multiple things to do. Wonderlands lived and died by chaos chambers, and it's starting to feel like BO4 is going to live and die by killing bosses. That's gonna about do it for this one though. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, definitely consider leaving a like, comment, subscribe, all that. Down in the description will be a link to my Twitch channel where you can follow to be notified of when I go live, and just below that is a link to my Discord server where you can come and join and hang out. But with that all being said, I hope to see you guys in the next one. We did get an actual boss with this event, right? There's no way. Wait, are you serious? Are you fucking serious? We don't get a boss? Wait. Wait. Oh my god. The bosses aren't even reskinned. We get a fucking weather event and guns that drop from normal bosses. Oh my god, fellas. I booted up stream today ready to be positive, ready to be like somewhat surprised. I wasn't ready to be surprised, to be flashbanged by the fact that there isn't a fucking boss. Cause yeah, okay, so in this image, it says chance to drop via world boss. I assumed that this meant that we were going to be getting a world boss. And I was disappointed in that, but I was like, whatever, at least there's a fucking boss. Just like Borderlands 3, we are going to support it with tons of content post-launch. Where's the content, Randy? You were expecting new content? Yeah, my bad, I guess. Holy fucking shit. You dare assume positive things? I've been trying really hard to be positive about this game because I do like this game. I hate shit-talking it as much as I do because it gives off the impression that I don't like this game. I like Borderlands 4. I enjoy this game. I have put like 400 hours into it. But oh my god, Gearbox is fucking making it hard. Gearbox is making it so hard to be a fan of BL4 right now.